Hi y'all, Joni here with Tune and Yaya. Today I am bringing you a designated flow specifically for the root chakra, connected with one of the songs that I've told you about. I Am Connected is the song, and it is by Beautiful Chorus, and it is the song that I listen to when I'm going through the flow that I'm showing you. I'm going to first show you the poses that we will be doing in the flow. That way you can get an idea of how to do them, how to deepen them, how to become more attuned to your body during them so you feel more connected with the breath as you go through them. Because remember, we do need to learn the poses and feel more comfortable in our body within the poses, learning how our body is able to balance in these poses, and then that will facilitate us being able to bring the breath in and become more aware of the mantra and the cycle and being able to create more of a meditative practice. So we're going to get started. It does start in mountain pose. We did go over this in our first video, the surrender video that went over the song Please Prepare Me by Beautiful Chorus, a wonderful song to kind of just help get you started. And we worked through the sun salutations in that first segment. So the mountain pose, remember, you spread out the toes, you balance weight on all four corners of both of the feet. You put energy into the bottom of the feet gently, as though you're trying to separate the feet apart from each other, but you're not really trying, you're not really separating the feet. It's a little bit of that energy in the bottom of the feet, so that way it helps to align those shin bones all the way up to the hips. And remember, you want those hips to be right in line with those middle toes. So some of us might need to step a little bit further out, some of us might need to step a little closer together. Allow yourself to feel out what feels good for you, right? Spreading out the toes, balancing on all four corners of the feet. The next pose that we're going to do is a lunge. So lunges are great for balance, and they are great for being able to move in and out, because that is one of the things that we're doing. We're not just holding the lunge, we can just hold it. We are going to do that for part of the time, but it's also being able to move back and forth. This is actually one of the very base things that I start with people whenever I'm working with clients, because you would be surprised how hard it is to step back and forward without shoes on too, even with shoes on, and have that balance of being able to step back and hold yourself steady and then being able to step forward. And so that is part of our flow today. Part of our flow is completely working towards grounding us in our body, in our space, so we can allow our breath to help us move in and out of these poses that we're doing. So when we come into a lunge, note how you feel when you step your right foot back. Notice if you feel wobbly. If you do, you can step that back foot out to the side a little bit more, all right? Or you might want to lessen the stance a little bit more, right? So sometimes people step further back. If you feel wobbly, maybe you don't step that far back in the beginning. Maybe you start with a shorter distance, because that will facilitate you creating that body awareness to find space to be able to step the foot further back later on. All right, you want to make sure that that front knee is right on top of the ankle, so that front knee is going to be bent, and then the heel of that back leg is lifted. So notice the back heel is lifted, and the back leg is strong and straight all the way up to the bottom of the butt cheek. Now, you want to take the tailbone and draw it down slightly, not like you're tucking it in. Notice the tucking in. Notice the anterior tilt. So allow yourself to find that neutral. So we're gently drawing the tailbone down, pulling the belly in and up, creating space from the hips to the ribs and further up. Front knee on top of the ankle, back leg strong and straight. The further back you step that back leg, the harder it's going to be for you to step forward with ease. So that's why it's really important for us to be able to take a step back, allow ourselves to start with a smaller space or start with a smaller stance, so that way we can create the foundation, like I said, the awareness in the body to be able to step back further later on after we've gained that knowledge, all right, after we've gained that comfort, because a lot of times it is comfort. Another tool that I have learned to work with clients is being able to use a door frame as your support system. So setting your mat up in a door frame, being able to have it to step back and forward may help you to create that balance a little bit easier if you find that this is super wobbly for you. All right, because we are doing a bit with balance today because of our root chakra program, and that is going to help us to get grounded and more secure in our stances. Okay, so like I said, we step back with that right foot. We're coming into that lunge. And this is our first pose, all right? We're bringing the arms up, and then we're gonna step forward. When we step forward, it's really important, most likely for everybody, to look down whenever you are first starting these poses to see if you're coming back to that mountain stance. So you wanna come back to that mountain stance each time. And the suggestion is to step back 3 times with the breath, right? And then find the balance. So once we find the balance, then we're gonna come into airplane arms 3 times, right? So now I'm here, I'm in my lunge. And when I come to airplane arms, I'm gonna bring the hands down, palms to face up, down by the hips. And notice the back is long. I'm not allowing my back to get rounded out here. The legs have not shifted at all. This is great to help empower the legs and to build strength, all right? And stability, of course. So we exhale here, and we inhale here. So that's the second move that we're going to do. After we've done our transitions, right, then we're going to come back up on a nice deep inhale. You're going to use the ball of that back foot to create a little energy so you can step forward into tree pose. Now, a lot of times when I'm teaching tree pose, people want to come all the way up to the inside of the thigh or up to the hip. And you can't come up to the hip and hold it, or you cannot hold it if you can actually keep it there and not hold it. It takes a little bit, but it is manageable. So find what works best for you. The biggest thing that I like to tell people here is that when you are coming into that tree pose, don't worry about coming all the way up, right? If you need to keep that toe on the ground to help give you that balance, then do that in the beginning. Again, you can use those support systems if you chose to set up in a door frame, and that will help you to get more comfortable with being able to step forward and come into that tree pose. Now I'm going to show you something here. One of the most common things that happens that I've seen in a number of classes, and this is even people who've been practicing a long time, is one of the things that happens is when they come into tree pose, notice my hips, they do this, okay? So now I'm in tree pose, and it looks like I'm tall and straight, but truth of the matter is I'm not. Notice that shift, right? So it's important for us to be able to recognize that we're shifting the weight. So work towards stepping forward and coming, like I said, either to the mat, to the calf, to the upper thigh, or the hip, finding what works best for you. Then really root down through the balancing leg, our left leg here, all the way up to the bottom of that butt cheek, right? Really create space between the ribs and the hips. Right? Keep the knee pushing backward, so you squeeze the bottom of that butt cheek as well. Keep the crown of the head reaching up. You can bring those hands to heart center. You can reach the arms all the way up. You can come to a V, or you can wave from side to side. I actually think I talked about that in that first segment of the video. So whatever feels good for you. You can again use those support systems as well. Once we find our tree pose, then we are going to hold this for 5 breaths. And truthfully, all of these movements, the flow that we're doing, you can step back 5 times, right? You can do 5 transitions. The key here is to practice. It's practicing how it feels comfortable for you and what feels good for you and your practice and what you're looking to get out of it. So, and there are lots of things that we can add to these poses to make them more intense, to make them a little bit easier, and things like that. So be mindful that there are different things that you can do. And for instance, if you just want to hold mountain in your rooted series, the root chakra series, the root chakra segment of your series, then that is totally okay as well, right? You get to decide how this practice works for you. You get to decide. So that's the most important part, remember. After we get through, we do the opposite side, okay? And then we do our transitions, okay? And then we step forward into our tree pose, all right? Now from here, we get to come down out of our tree pose. We get to take the feet a little bit further apart from each other, and we get to come into Malasana, all right? This is our garland squat. So now be mindful that this might not feel comfortable for you. You actually might need to go, I don't like to go outside my mat because my feet might slip, but we might need to go further apart from each other, and you might even need a block. Let me get a block to sit on, all right? So there are many ways that you can train yourself to coming into a lower squat. Be mindful, first case scenario is taking the feet a little bit further out from each other and allowing yourself to see how that feels. In Malasana, you can actually bring your feet all the way together to come all the way down. Now, that takes a lot of ankle mobility, so it's not necessarily for everybody, and you want to be able to be comfortable while you're breathing. So, taking the feet about hip width apart, maybe a little bit further. Sometimes turning the toes out just a little bit helps a lot. And then we bring those hands to heart center. We use the triceps to press the knees out a little bit further, the inside of the thighs. And then we get the back nice and long. So again, if you're looking at yourself and you're here, then you might need to come a little bit further up so you can get that nice long back, all right? So in our Malasana, we take 5 breaths. And then we're gonna start with something called the frog spider breath, all right? This is gonna be the last part of our root chakra segment. We exhale, coming down, and we're lifting those hips up. We inhale to come down, back into our Malasana. Exhale, inhale. So you can notice how it's frog, right? This is very similar to a frog. And then when we take our arms here, note, those hands can come on the inside of the feet, all right? Then they can come to the back of the feet. You find what feels best for you. You want to work towards trying to get those hands to the back of the heels, but that might not be available in the beginning of this. And then we lift up, and we come back down. All right? So now those are the poses that we're going to be using in our flow. I'm going to tell you after you've learned those poses, we're now going to work with our breath and the song. So I'm going to put my headphones on, and I'm going to guide you through the poses with the song in my ears so you can see what it looks like. I work towards trying to slow it down as much as I can. So I'm inhaling and exhaling throughout one segment of the mantra repetition. And this is facilitating a deep, calming breath. It's not meant to create anxiety, remember that. So if you need to take more breaths throughout that process, please do. All right, I'll meet you back here shortly. Hi, y'all. Joni here, coming back to the mat to show you how our root chakra flow looks, along with the corresponding song that I've suggested for you. Always note that you can pick out whatever song works for you. If it is helping you to think about staying grounded, then that is going to be a sure sign that that song can facilitate you here, because we are going through the series and having that mental aspect of being able to go through the chakra system and pay attention to what we are doing, right? And setting that intention to work with balancing ourselves out, to work through setting awareness or putting awareness on these different areas of our bodies, so that way we can create more balance and harmony in our own lives. So from here, I'm in my mountain pose. I'm going to push the song started. I'm going to start on the second repetition of the song. So to give you an idea of where it starts, all right? Inhale, stepping back. Exhale, stepping forward. Back to mountain. Inhale. One more time. Now transition. Keep the belly pulling in and up, the back long. Inhale, reach. Inhale, come back up, prepare for tree. Three full breaths here. Exhale, coming down. Back to mountain pose. Opposite side. Inhale. Exhale. Back to mountain. Stepping back to hold. And then forward. Oh, sorry, not just yet. Deep inhale. And exhale. Two more like that. Nice deep inhale. Nice deep inhale. And short. Exhale, come down. Take the feet a little bit further apart from each other. Nice deep inhale up. Exhale into your Malasana. One more deep inhale. And exhale to spider. Inhale, Malasana. Exhale. Inhale. Inhale. Now we can stay here. We can go ahead and come into our Shavasana. Or we can work towards practicing our crane pose, where we begin to lean forward, adding that weight to the back of the triceps, working towards lifting the legs. If you do decide to do that, right, my suggestion is to make sure to have something underneath your head, because sometimes when you first start, you might fall on your face. It is okay, right? We know that we get better at things with practice, so we can't be scared to fall. We can't be scared to fail. So that is part of it. I am going to also suggest that whenever you come down to your Shavasana at the end of every session, mind you, I know that's not always easy for some of us. Sometimes I have had, actually, a number of times throughout my years of teaching, I've had people leave before the Shavasana even begins. It is not wrong, but it is something that's needed. We often, so many of us find it so hard to take time to just be still. So being still is huge. So our Shavasana here, I'm going to tell you to take up as much space as you can. That is part of our root chakra as well. I will do a corresponding video on the chakras and explain them a little bit more in detail, as I've discovered that that's really something that I want to add to this segment series. So, in taking up as much space as you can, because you deserve to be here, you deserve to survive and thrive. And so, take up as much space as you can as you lay all the way down and let yourself completely relax, completely find stillness, reconnect to the breath, right? And allow yourself to be here in this moment, taking this time for you to ground, to balance. I hope you enjoyed today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great one. Namaste. Hi, y'all. I wanted to jump back on and give you some guidance into the breathing technique that you will use for the Shavasana during this root chakra practice. So in the first segment, we did learn a little bit more about the Ujjayi breath, and that is a breath that we utilize throughout our practice. We learn to breathe as quiet as we can and with as much awareness as we can to be able to feel it going inward and outward. Now, with this root series, what the guidance is here is to allow yourself to come into a super balanced breath. So be mindful as when we're practicing any breath work that we want to allow ourselves to gradually get to what the cues are and not force ourselves into those things, because we can create anxiety for ourselves. And if you happen to suffer from clinical anxiety, then it can be something that happens for you. It's also supposed to be beneficial for you whenever you allow yourself to lean into it nice and slow. So the balanced breath that the suggestion is here throughout your Shavasana, when you can really just allow yourself to tap into that breath as you let everything else fade away, is to build yourself up to a 4-count inhalation, a holding of the breath in for 2 counts, a 4-count exhalation, and then a holding of the breath out for 2 counts. I hope that helps. If it does feel like that's a little bit much to begin with, start with 3-1-3-1, and hopefully that will be something that you can do, and then you can build yourself up from there. You know, you could also go to 5-3-5, and so on. So allow yourself to play with it as long as you feel comfortable and you're feeling relaxed in your Shavasana, allowing yourself to let everything go as you find stillness and balance. That will be beneficial for you. Again, thank you so much for joining in on this series. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Namaste.